The following podcast is part of the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. For advertising information or to find more great podcasts, visit us at www.theunderdogsports.com and follow us on Twitter at RealTheUnderdog.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Atlantic Files, brought to you by BasketballSocietyOnline.com and the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. As always, you are joined by myself, your host, Alex Fishbein. So, I want to say, later on in this episode, we welcomed back Mike Bash to talk about Steve Nash and the Brooklyn Nets. But before I get to that, we recorded that a little bit earlier from the time I'm recording this, because I wanted to talk a little bit about the crazy Game 6 between Toronto and Boston. When I talked to Mike Bash, that was before that game took place. I think it was actually before, it might have been during it while it was taking place, but it was just before the ending. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit here. And first off, that game was absolutely insane. I mean, the fact that it went into double overtime, and the whole time you're watching, you're thinking like, okay, you know, Boston can win this and it ends the whole series, and then we got Boston-Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. But Toronto, if they win this, it's going to set up an awesome Game 7, because who wouldn't want a Game 7 of this series? This series has not disappointed other than maybe one game, and I think that was Game 5, when Toronto was just really cold. And I mean, every team's going to have that type of night. Boston's had that type of night as well before. So it sets up an amazing Game 7, which happens tonight. As I'm saying this, it is Friday, and according to Bovada Sportsbook, we have the Boston Celtics as a 3.5-point favorite. Now, I don't know if I agree that Boston is that much of a favorite. I think it should be at most 1.5. I think that the way that the Raptors have played most of this series should tell you that they are going to bring it right to Boston the whole time. Both defenses, as we've talked about before, have been, vicious. They've been attacking each other like crazy. It's been ridiculous seeing guys like Kyle Lowry and Marcus Smart go at each other, and OG Anunoby and Jaylen Brown, and all of these guys just going back and forth. It has been wildly entertaining. And let's just shout out, can we shout out Kyle Lowry real quick? Because we have, not necessarily me, but the general basketball viewing public has given Lowry so much crap over his career about not coming up big in the playoffs, about disappearing every time he got into the postseason, and just shooting terribly, not playing well for his team, and always losing when it was him and DeMar DeRozan as their leading two. Then you have last season happen where, yes, we know Kawhi was the reason that they won that game, but I should say won the postseason, not won that game. But Kyle Lowry was still a humongous factor. Now we're watching Kyle Lowry be the sole leader, and he's coming up clutch. The bucket that he just took Kemba Walker down to the post and just got his own shot that he wanted, sunk it, and really hit a dagger for Toronto was huge. First off, it blows my mind that Boston actually allowed Kemba to get switched onto Lowry when you should have made damn sure that Marcus Smart was covering him. But I digress. Kyle Lowry came up huge. OG Anunoby hit another great shot. Norman Powell came up big time for Toronto. He hit a couple free throws at the end as well to really seal the deal for them. And then Marcus Smart starts chirping, to Toronto at the end there, and the team start exchanging words. But ultimately, Toronto gets off the court because they're like, yo, we beat you guys. It's game 7. It's do or die. This is what it's going to be. I do think it's going to be a bit of a high-scoring game. Even though it hasn't been super high scoring this whole series because of the defenses, I think this one both teams are gonna come out firing a lot. They're gonna come out super aggressive on both sides, and they're going to take it right to each other. According to Bovada, the over/under for this game is 204. So I think it's going to be higher than that. If I'm betting, I think I'm taking the over because there's so much that could go on. Just if you have Lowry and Siakam and Van Vliet shoot how they normally have been shooting throughout this whole bubble experience and even in the first round, it could be deadly. I mean, again, we'll revisit the fact that they did put up 150 points in the first round. Also, on the other side, if you have Tatum, Kemba, and Brown all catch fire, it's the same exact result. You put both of them together, that would be an insane game 7. Insane. But either way, this game 7 is going to be crazy. It's going to be super fun. And also, according to Bovada, we have the Celtics with a slightly better chance to become the Eastern Conference winner. The favorite is Miami at minus 110, but the Celtics are at plus 220. The Raptors are at plus 275. And then the Miami Heat also have the better chance to win the championship out of the East, with the Celtics at plus 650 and the Raptors at plus 900. Either way, going to be an awesome Game 7, and it's going to be super fun. I'm excited for it. I hope everyone else is excited for it because this is just good quality basketball, and it's going to be amazing to watch. So let's get ready for some awesome playoff basketball. And now what I will do is I will take you on over to my conversation with Mike Bash about Brooklyn, about Steve Nash, and about more. So thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit the subscribe, you like this video, you comment below. We hit 700 subscribers, so thank you for everyone who has subscribed to the Basketball Society channel. Make sure you tell at least one friend about it so we can hit 1,000 before the end of the year. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Check out this clip. Well, it's a bit of a lengthy clip because it's a good conversation with Mike. And let me know what you guys think. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next week. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Atlantic Files, brought to you by BasketballSocietyOnline.com and the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. As always, you're joined by myself, Alex Fishbein, and we bring back Mike Bash, the voice of the people for the Brooklyn Nets. What's going on?
Not much. Glad to be back. Excited for the road ahead for the Brooklyn Nets. It's a new era, I guess. With KD coming back, Steve Nash joining as a coach. So it should be exciting times for the Brooklyn Nets.
Oh, no, for sure. I mean, they threw us a little bit of a curveball. I mean, there was the talks of them going with Greg Popovich, trying to get him if he didn't retire. There was rumors of plenty of other coaches. And then all of a sudden it was like, boom, it's done. Steve Nash.
Yeah, it was totally like out of left field. I did not see that coming. As you know, I've talked to you throughout the year, and I was wanting Greg Popovich. That was the pipe dream.
Oh yeah.
After Greg Popovich, I was kind of like, what I want. I know there was talks of like a Jay Wright or a Juwan Morgan. Not saying that they would go to the Nets, but the guys from the college ranks that were being talked about. Or, the Ty Lue, who I didn't want Ty Lue. Ty Lue has, had his chance already, and it's clear, I know the Sixers just hired him, right? Ty Lue?
Well, they said it came out as they were finalizing a deal, but then they retracted it and said he's still the heavy favorite, but they haven't finalized anything yet.
Well, maybe they'll dodge a bullet there because I just Ty Lue is fine as like an assistant coach, but
Mm-hmm.
he won the championship off of LeBron. Like, let's
Right.
be honest. And ever since then, like he hasn't proven that he could be a great coach. There's other guys out there. If I were the Sixers, Billy Donovan's available. That's who I would go after. He's shown with every type of roster he's had in Oklahoma City that he can coach. So, when it comes to the Nets, I had no idea. I was like, all right, maybe we're going to hire Popovich. Maybe we'll bring back Jock Vaughn, which I was fine with because we did play well in the bubble. Or, it was going to be somebody out of left field. For all intents and purposes, I thought maybe we'd hire Becky Hammond. It was that, I had no idea what to expect when it came to who's going to be the next coach in the Nets. And I'm pretty happy with Steve Nash. I'm excited at least.
Yeah, I mean, when he became an option and then became the hire, I was like, wow. If I knew he was an option in the first place, I would have said go with Steve Nash, especially if you're not going to get Popovich. I mean, we've seen Steve Nash coach be one of the assistants for Golden State, and it seemed like Steph and KD both really liked him. There was plenty of pictures and videos of him working with them before games and warm-ups and all that kind of stuff. And it seemed like everybody liked him. It seemed like he had some good things to say, which, normally as a future Hall of Famer, an NBA legend, you're gonna have some good insight on everything. So I think especially for a guy to keep your stars accountable, because now with Kyrie, KD coming back, hopefully they stay healthy as well. I think it's big to have him because I think if anybody, he's going to know how to manage some egos since he was the point guard, was the leader of his teams, and was able to manage them in game.
Yeah, and as well as I do, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving were the guys who maybe they didn't decide ultimately who the Nets were hiring as coach, but they spearheaded this decision. This wasn't we're going to pick our guy and hopefully everyone falls in line. It was, KD, Kyrie, do you guys approve of this? Yeah, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Steve Nash, yeah, he's been with the Warriors for 5 years. And you look at in baseball, right? Catchers are always hired as coaches. In football, it's usually quarterbacks or linebackers are hired as coaches. In I don't know about hockey. I can't go with hockey. But in basketball, it's always point guards, right? Point guards are like a coach on the floor. So you knew with a Hall of Fame resume on the court and the kind of guy that Steve Nash was, a guy who got everyone involved, always kept the offense moving, you knew he was a natural fitted head coach. It was just when the time would come. But when he works with the Warriors under Steve Kerr, head coaches can be figureheads in some way where everyone below them is doing all the in and out work and they're just managing everything.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Nash was helping out in Golden State. He was doing player development. He was helping the young guys. He was, I'm sure, giving pointers and lessons to even guys like Curry and Durant and Thompson leaned on him. So I'm sure he has enough of a base to be a strong head coach. And they retained Jock Vaughn, making him, I think, the highest paid assistant coach in the league. So You have a guy who has coached at the NBA level. I think not only in the bubble but prior. Wasn't he a coach in Orlando? I think Jock Vaughn.
Yes.
Or Charlotte.
Yes. I think he took over Orlando when they got rid of, I think it was Scott Skiles.
Yeah. So you have guys below him that are going to be there to help him with the, the small intricacies of coaching. I'm excited. I can't sit here and say, oh, Steve Nash is going to bring this system with him because I don't know what Steve Nash's system is. Is he going to try to bring the, Mike D'Antoni Suns with him? Is he going to try to bring the Golden State Warriors Steve Kerr system? I think it's probably going to be closer to the Steve Kerr system than the D'Antoni system because this Kerr system is proven to win while D'Antoni system is proven they can score a lot of points, but who knows when it comes to playoff time. But I think the guy's going to listen to him, and I as much as I don't want it to happen, I love Caris LeVert. I think a big move is coming.
Oh yeah,
I mean a monster move.
I mean, I'd love to see it just to see what kind of move it's going to be. But just to touch on real quick what you said about Steve Nash bringing in like some sort of system. I think I agree with you that I think it's going to be closer to the Golden State system because, I mean, when you're in there and you see how that system works, it's been proven to work multiple times, especially now you also saw it work with one of the guys you're about to coach in KD. You add a couple more players that are similar to that system and you can start cooking with gas. I mean, it's a good mold, and I'm sure there's some way to put Kyrie into that mold, even though he's not Steph or not Clay. But I think like even because like at the beginning of this season on Bovada Sportsbook, we had Brooklyn at like pretty close to the top of like the East, and now you bring in Steve Nash, even without like a solidified system. I think you're going to see them at the top of the East again in odds.
Yeah, and yes, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. Kyrie Irving is not Steph Curry. But everything that Steph Curry can do, Kyrie Irving can do that. Kyrie Irving can shoot. Kyrie Irving can handle. Kyrie Irving can distribute. Kyrie Irving can get to the basket and make these, like, crafty layups. Yeah, he can't shoot at the level that that Steph Curry can shoot, but he could do everything that Steph Curry can do. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be a Warriors-based system. Depending on if they go out and get a third star or stay with what they got. Either way, I think it'll fit. But I'm excited for the Nets. I knew this past year, was going to be like a tease in a way.
Right.
Obviously, I hope that Kyrie Irving didn't get hurt, but it's Kyrie Irving. He gets hurt, every time he runs to the stop sign. So, it is what it is, but I think LeVert showed that he could be good. I think Jared Allen showed that he can be good. We need to re-sign Joe Harris. But there's, the team is good, and if Kevin Durant could be anywhere 80% of what he was, then the Nets have a chance.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, hey, I got to give you props. Harris was lighting it up in the bubble.
Yeah, hey, they're calling. I think I said it a couple of years ago. Harris is going to be a bubble LeBron.
I'm kidding. We imagined the bubble 3 years prior. We were just ahead of the game.
It was a prediction, one of my many predictions that ended up coming right.
But so, all right, I wanted to touch on that deal you said. Obviously, they have, I wouldn't say it's an issue, but they have a bit of a strategy on their hands. Do they keep LeVert? Do they trade LeVert? What do they want as that third piece to go with KD and Kyrie? If you had to say what you wanted or what you would do, what would that be?
Well, what I would do and what I want are the same thing. Okay. Whether the other team decides to agree with my deal is the other thing. What I would love to see happen is the Nets trade Caris LeVert, Jared Allen, this year's first, next year's first, however many firsts they need to trade, to the Milwaukee Bucks for Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Okay.
Anthony Puccio, a Nets beat writer for Nets Daily, I think, tweeted out the possibility that some execs think that the Nets were going to try to trade with the Bucks for Giannis. Do I think it's going to happen? No. It's a pipe dream. But then again, I didn't think Kyrie and Kevin Durant would go to the Nets 2 years ago. So anything can happen. I think the most likely scenario that a lot of people have predicted is Bradley Beal. I wouldn't mind Bradley Beal. Wouldn't be sitting here pouting over Bradley Beal. But if it's going to cost LeVert, if it's going to cost Allen, and it's going to cost first-round picks, I don't think Beal fits with Durant and Kyrie. I would want a big man if we're okay. Giannis is a small forward or whatever you want to classify him as, but I would want not this player. I'm just giving you an example of a player because I know this is not going to happen, but I'd want a Karl Anthony Towns or a Joel Embiid, a big man that could dominate in the post to let those two guys use the space outside, not another shooter. Right. So if there's a deal out there, I don't know what player in that mold is available. Off the top of my head, I really get a Blake Griffin, but I don't want Blake Griffin. I can't really I can't really think of another player in that mold that fits it, but that's what I would want. But yeah, I think if they can get Giannis, obviously get Giannis. But if they can't, I would stick with LeVert, stick with Allen. I think LeVert turns into an all-star next year. Maybe he doesn't go like nuts and score like 23, 24, 25 a game, but I could see him scoring 20 a game. The problem, and I think I said this to you in the text, is he's very ball dominant. When he's good, it's when he's ball dominant.
Right.
And Kyrie Irving's ball dominant. So can you run LeVert in that like Manu Ginobili role or Harden role when he was with the Thunder, where he's like the sixth man, but he plays starter minutes. And when Kyrie's like out and they're giving him some rest, LeVert takes over as the go-to like ball handler. I don't know. It's for Steve Nash to figure out or Sean Marks to figure out, but that's what I'm thinking.
I got you. No, I mean I feel like a lot of the rumors and the rumblings are for trading Caris LeVert. Like I haven't really seen any of them that said like, oh, we're hearing that, Brooklyn feels really good about LeVert and they're going to keep him. It's been mostly like, oh, they're looking at their options, or, oh, there's this trade they could do, this trade they could do. And I don't think that's any slight at LeVert. I think that it just shows that they need a higher caliber person to actually compete for the championship.
Exactly. Yeah. The problem is, like I said, I just don't know. Like the trade, if they do make a trade, it's going to come out of left field.
Yeah.
Like we're all sitting here saying Bradley Beal, Bradley Beal, Bradley Beal. It's not going to be Bradley Beal. It's going to be like Chris Middleton, for all I know. It's going to be a guy no one's talking about. It's going to be maybe Pascal Siakam. That's pipe dream, but
I was going to say, I was like, that's a stretch right there.
No, but you know what I'm saying. Like it's going to be Devin Booker. Like it's going to be a guy that no one's talking about the Nets getting, and then out of thin air, Sean Marks makes a trade, and everyone's like, oh wow, like,
right?
How did they pull that off? So I mean, I can go through the whole league. Maybe C.J. McCollum. Maybe maybe James Harden's not happy in Houston. I don't know, but it's going to be something out of left field. It always is.
Right.
Hopefully it's just a good one.
Yeah. And I mean, I do agree to your point that it would definitely be better to go with a big than it would a guard, because if you do go with a guard, I feel like it would have to be someone like Klay Thompson, just to bring it back to Golden State.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And like you said, I was going to say the only people I can think of that, I'm not saying they're on Klay Thompson's level, but they're kind of like him in terms of that they're better at catch and shoot than they are needing the ball, are people like you said, Chris Middleton. Like he's just one example of that kind of prototype. And I think that I don't think Chris Middleton would really get you to where you need to be. I like Middleton, but I don't think I don't know. I just don't, especially come playoff time, I don't think he's really going to be the person you guys need to be. But I did see there was a tweet that I saw from a couple people that are beat writers and bloggers for the Sixers, talking about what if the Sixers did trade Joel Embiid if he demanded one to the Nets, and they got people were saying like some kind of package that had both LeVert and Dinwiddie and picks. I mean, as a Sixers fan, I feel like I wouldn't do that. I like Dinwiddie. I like LeVert. But especially with a guy like Elton Brand, I don't trust him to make the right moves after that.
Yeah. I mean, I would love Embiid. And if it costs 2 firsts and LeVert or something like that, or even LeVert, I don't think. See, the problem is I don't think the money. I don't think not the money, the fit for the Sixers. You really want LeVert, Dinwiddie, and Simmons 3-point guards, even though Simmons should really move to the 4 at this point. I don't know if the Nets would give up Dinwiddie and LeVert, because Dinwiddie does play that 6-man role perfectly.
Right.
And he is capable as a starter if Irving's the missed time. Embiid is a guy I would want. But I was kind of just, while you were talking, I was kind of just looking up like top trade targets or guys most likely to get traded in the offseason.
Uh-huh.
And one of the guys on the list came up perfectly to fit the type of player I think the Nets would need, Miles Turner.
Okay.
Now, that's a guy I think would be out of left field. I got
True.
a stretch big man, but a guy who can still do some stuff in the post. Like, he's 6'11", long, athletic. He's more offensively talented than Jared Allen.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if they flipped Jared Allen and a pick for Turner or something, because you have DeAndre Jordan, unfortunately, that might be the move that gets him over the top. I don't know, but that was just kind of a guy I saw that came out of left field. The other names are like Buddy Hield, who Buddy Hield might be fine, but he's probably overpaid at this point. Kevin Love, and again, and then the other guy besides Bradley Beal was Zach LaVine mentioning.
Right.
And
right.
I don't know if I think he's in the same boat as LeVert. Doesn't fit well with Kyrie Irving.
Right. Yeah, I mean, especially because it feels like we've seen the best of LeVert come out when he, is the number one option on a bad team. And I'm not trying to say that as in like LeVert doesn't have the talent. He has the talent, he has the skill, but we just haven't seen, can he do the same thing with a more limited amount of touches? Because he's definitely, like, if you put him on Brooklyn, he's definitely not getting the same amount of touches every night as Kyrie and KD. So
yeah, can he be more efficient?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And on top of that, can he also be a reliable distributor? Because we know Kyrie, he's not the guy to go out and get you 10 assists a game. He'll probably give you like 6 or 7. So that means you do need to pick up that slack somewhere else. Is LaVine that guy? Can he give you like 5 a game, 6 a game, being the third option? I know Dinwiddie will get you some as well, but naturally coming in as a 6th man. But yeah, I agree that fits not great. I do like Miles Turner with that team. I think he is like, at one point his defense was really, really good. He was up there with some of the elite rim protectors. It was interesting because in the bubble we saw them use him like almost strictly on the perimeter. Like he wasn't really in the post all that much because I think they got used to the fact that they had Sabonis down there. And then in the bubble, he wasn't there and they just continued with whatever offense they had.
And honestly, know how much I love Sabonis.
Oh yeah. I was about to say, if you guys got Sabonis, that would be insane.
I was actually looking at one of my old bets from the offseason. I put $1 on Sabonis to win Most Improved. It was like 5,500 to 1.
Oh God!
I came close. He didn't win it. I don't think he's gonna win it, but it was up there. He made the All-Star team. I was close.
True.
But the problem with the Pacers is they don't want to play the two together. So
right,
you got to move one if you can't play them together because you can't have both of them going. Well, you can't have one of them come off the bench and think you're giving your team the best shot.
Yeah, exactly. And if I'm the Pacers, realistically, I'm getting rid of Miles Turner before I get rid of Sabonis.
Yeah, exactly.
But so all right. So now you got Steve Nash. You're thinking about trading LeVert. Is Harris's contract up? Do you have to re-sign him right now?
Yeah, he's a free agent. I'm expecting Joe Harris to re-sign. I know the last contract he signed was 2 years ago. It was a 2-year, $16 million deal.
Right.
I assume he's going to command the same type of contract. I don't think Joe Harris really upped his game to go, hey, I want 2 for 25. I don't think his game got worse where he's going to be like on like a 1 year, $5 million deal. Right. So if the money works, 2 for 16, 2 for 15, 2 for 12, 2 for 20, whatever that range is, I think they'll sign him if they, if the money works. I would hate to see Joe Harris go just because, like I said, he's he's a bubble LeBron. So no, right. he's not that good, but he's good enough. And you need that in a championship team. You need guys that can shoot, can defend, can fill their roles. And I think Joe Harris is a perfect role player on a championship contending team.
Oh, completely agreed. And I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if the Sixers, got rid of one of the contracts they had. I wouldn't be surprised if they went after Joe Harris, especially because they desperately need the shooting. I wouldn't be surprised if many of these other playoff teams went after Joe Harris. Like especially the Lakers. I think if once they shed the temporary contracts that they got of like J.R. Smith and Deion Waiters and all those guys, I feel like they would even go after Joe Harris, especially if they don't win the championship this year. But I think that to be that championship contender, I think that Brooklyn definitely needs to resign it.
Yeah, I agree. And slightly off topic, but is J.R. Smith like LeBron's new version of DeJounte Jones, where the guy doesn't play all year and then he just signs him? He gets him signed for the playoffs as like a expensive cheerleader.
He might be. I mean, hey, I feel like if you can become that guy somehow, you might as well.
Yeah, you just got to get inside LeBron's inner basketball circle. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it takes. I mean, like, what they're not even using him. Like,
they're not using half the guys they signed like right at the end. Like Deion Waiters hasn't really played all that much either, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. These rotations have been weird, what they use in the bubble and then what they're using in the playoffs. But we're getting close. But yeah, I think the Nets will back to the Nets. I think they'll re-sign Joe Harris. I think part of me thinks one of Dinwiddie or LeVert is 100% getting moved this offseason. I think LeVert carries more value, so I think LeVert can return them the most. Dinwiddie kind of fits his role perfectly. I'd love to move DeAndre Jordan, but it's just not happening.
Yeah. Especially not when you have Jared Allen there that other teams would want.
But I am excited for Nicholas Claxton next year. I think if he can take the next step, and become like a role player for us.
Didn't you say he was going to become like the next KD?
Yeah, just wait. I say he's the next Chris Bosh.
Oh, Chris Bosh. That's what it was. That's what it was.
Just watch him play. Dominates the G League. Long Island Nets' most valuable player, Nicholas Claxton. No, I like his talent. And the trade that we made with you guys, with the Sixers last year, actually ended up panning out for us because we're going to get like the 19th pick this year since you guys didn't really fare too well. So it'll work out. Who knows?
And you guys got TLC.
And we got can you explain that to me? Timothy Luau-Cabarro was like out of the league or like the 14th man on like the Suns or something. All of a sudden he's dropping like 28 a game in the bubble. Where did that come from?
I wish I could tell you because, I mean, trust me, I was a TLC truther for a long time. I kept saying that TLC is going to be something. And for the longest time he was proving me wrong. And then the bubble came and all of a sudden TLC was like, nah, this is the time.
Now, let me ask you this. Did the Nets make a run next season in the preseason when they're looking to fill out their roster on maybe some veteran minimums? Mm-hmm. Did they go out and get Michael Beasley after they tried to get him in the bubble?
Oh, I say do it.
I mean, how about that? The Nets were like so decimated with coronavirus cases. It was insane.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, come on. And we signed, but of all people, didn't you expect Michael Beasley to get sick with COVID?
Oh, yeah. True. I mean, it's crazy to me that, like, you have all of these guys that got COVID before the bubble even started. Lou Will went to go get wings in Magic City. He was perfectly fine. But everyone else is, like dropping like flies before the bubble. And then who was it that went to go get food, like, from the delivery driver, but he, like, crossed the line and then he had to sit for like 14 days. It was a big man. I just forget who it was.
I want to say it was like Christian Wood, but I don't think they were even in the bubble. I know who you're talking about. It wasn't Montrezl Harrell, was it?
It could have been. But I just thought that was funny that, like, just going to get your food from the delivery driver, like, you're following rules, but you just cross this, like, imaginary line from the hotel.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know exactly who you're talking about. Like, I can picture it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a Laker. Oh, it was Rashawn Holmes.
Oh, yeah.
I just
Good
looked
old
it up.
Rashawn Holmes.
I just looked it up. Yeah, Rashawn Holmes. Yeah, Rashawn Holmes quarantining after leaving NBA bubble for food delivery because he like crossed the state border.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like if you're in Korea and you cross the demilitarization zone, it's like nope, yeah, you can't come back.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man.
In 5 years from now, 10 years from now, no, when you're talking to some kid who's like 17, 18 years old in high school, you run across someone and you're like, do you remember the bubble? They're gonna have no clue what you're talking about.
Exactly. The bubble when the three best players were Devin Booker, Dame Lillard, and TJ Warren.
TJ Warren. I knew TJ Warren could score. Where did that come? What happened? What were they serving in Disney World?
Apparently, some kind of enhancers.
TJ Warren turned into Bubble Jordan.
The Suns went undefeated.
The Suns were 8-0. And how about that? The Suns go 8-0 and they lose out on a playoff spot by a point.
I know, right?
Or a play-in game by a point. Like, oh, I felt so bad.
And then all of that just for the Blazers to get booted anyway.
And remember how everyone going into the bubble was like, well, what happens if LeBron gets sick? Or what happens if Giannis gets sick? Or what happens if Harden gets sick or whatever? You're going to have to put an asterisk on this. Well, the Miami Heat just dismantled the Bucks.
Oh, yeah.
So are the Heat in the conference finals now?
Yep.
And what's the other series? Raptors, Celtics still?
Yeah, that's 3-2 Boston.
I want to see the Raptors again, but I think Boston's gonna. So you're gonna have Boston versus the Heat. See, that bothers me because Boston, like with the whole Nets trade, right? They're getting Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I was so hoping I'm like that would never pan out for them, and they never make it to the finals, and they never win. And realistically, like if they get past the Raptors, they should beat the Heat.
Right.
Even though the Heat are hot right now. And then they're playing, and then we're going to have a Celtics-Lakers championship again, just like every year in the 60s and in the late 2000s. So it's not fun.
I just think it's funny.
I'd rather LeBron win than the Celtics win.
I would agree with you on that one. I would definitely agree with you on that one. But I think it's funny that obviously we couldn't predict all the circumstances surrounding it, but they get rid of Kyrie and then they get rid of Horford, and now they're they're on the brink of the Eastern Conference Finals and look like they can definitely win to make the finals. When 2 seasons ago, it was like Horford was one of their defensive saviors in the playoffs. Kyrie was the one who led them there in the first place, especially with Gordon Hayward out. Now it's like Gordon Hayward hasn't even been doing much as it is because he keeps getting hurt. And it's literally just been Tatum, Brown, and now Kemba that are just leading. I mean, there's center for most of this has been Daniel Tice of all people.
The $5 million NBA All-Star. Well, I think the Sixers' fortune changed when they moved on from Aaron Baines.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, but they have the Time Lord. They have Taco Fall. Taco Fall comes in for half a second, gives up a 3.
I know.
I don't know. I have a feeling the Raptors might come back and pull that one out. So we'll have to see what happens there. But the bubble's been interesting. Obviously, as a Nets fan, I'm looking forward to next year. I really don't care who wins this year.
Yeah.
But it's definitely been an interesting, whatever it's been, a month and a half or so.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't predict half of what has happened so far.
Oh, I know. And real quick before we get out of here, I just want to know 2 things. How you feeling?
No, I won't trade you Alvin Kamara in my dynasty league now.
No, that's fine. I mean, I have Zeke. I'm good with that.
Okay.
But how you feeling about the Nuggets and how they're looking? And the other thing is, what is your, now that we've fast forwarded ahead, because I looked at our predictions from last season, and both of us were quite off with a lot of things. I think.
I thought I only make right predictions. What happened?
Well, I mean, the playoffs have been pretty weird.
I couldn't predict a pandemic. I mean, come on, give me some slack.
Exactly. Like in the finals, I had Sixers and Clippers, and then the finals you had Nuggets and Bucks. So,
Damn.
one of ours both could potentially make it.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Nuggets, like the pieces I thought would be good are showing themselves to be good. Like Jamal Murray's breaking out. No, Nikola Jokic lost a ton of weight and he's been fine. Michael Porter Jr. has shown flashes. Even Bol was like a sensation for 8 games or whatever, and then they don't use him in the playoffs. But it's all right. The 2021 Nuggets train is going to be ready to go. Jamal Murray's going to be an all-star. Nikola Jokic is going to be an MVP pick again. Bol is going to be a starter at like shooting guard, and Michael Porter Jr. is going to be like the small forward. So we're fine. I got to say though, how do you feel that Paul Millsap has vote on the back of his name, so the jersey reads "Vote for Millsap"?
I mean, I would vote for him.
Like he did that purposely.
He probably was like, it's going to be good for the social justice thing, and it's also going to play out well. So we'll go with this one.
I gotta say the funniest image that I saw, and it obviously it just happened like the way Gordon. So somebody, I think it was somebody on the Heat, right, was going up for a layup, and like the back of their shirt said like rate like inequality or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's going up for a layup, and Gordon Hayward is swatting the shot, and it was just a freeze frame of like you have a black athlete going up for a layup, you have this white guy going and blocking the shot, and then the back of the jersey says inequality. It was just like you couldn't have drawn that up to be like really like how'd that happen like that. But it's been interesting. It's been a lot of different things happen in this bubble so far. We had the whole like what was that 3-day shutdown kind of thing.
Yep.
After Jacob Blake, and we've had all these different movements and groups that people are supporting. So it's been good to see. It's been good to see everyone come together and still be able to play the game that we all love and the game that we all love to root for and love to watch. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in the last couple of weeks of this playoffs or whatever. We got a month left, and then the draft in October. Hopefully the Nets set themselves up for next year to be in the championship or at least in the finals. Mm-hmm. I will say though, I think the Nets arrow is pointing up.
True.
The Sixers arrow is heading on the way down.
Well, I didn't think I was going there.
I saw your post. I think it was your post about is Ben Simmons just a shorter Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Oh yeah,
and I kind of agree with it. I mean, I think Giannis is a little more like maybe he's not more talented. It's just he has so much more length and athleticism.
Right.
But like, yeah, you can stop them the same way.
Yeah. And it was funny because that was actually a comparison that just randomly popped into my mind. And then once I started researching it and I found like the stats from both of their third seasons, it's almost identical. And I was like, wow, this comparison actually works better than I even thought it did.
Yeah. It's like me when I'm like, is Joe Harris the shorter, slower, less athletic LeBron James?
Yeah. I mean, and I'm like, is TJ McConnell just the white Magic Johnson?
Exactly. What team is he on? Oh, isn't he on the Pacers with all the other TJs?
Yep. Exactly. The 3 TJs.
Oh man, what a season this has been. It's been who would have thought in September we'd still be talking about the 2020 season?
Yeah. And no, seriously. And the crazy things to me is like just as a overview of this season, we have all the hype that like Bol brought when he first played. We have like Shake Milton, who was essentially a nobody before like the last couple of weeks before the restart and everything, he's hitting game winners. You have TJ Warren and all of those guys going crazy. Like you
The
have
Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray duel.
that duel was insane. You have Oklahoma City just barely losing to Houston in the playoffs, and Dort becoming all of a sudden like the James Harden stopper.
Yeah. Don't you love when guys like Dort? I remember early on in the draft process, he was like a top 20 projected pick.
Yeah.
And then I think he went like second round or undrafted. And then now he's kind of showing the early potential he showed.
Right.
I love
Exactly.
when that happens. It's like, well, he didn't get worse. He just was inconsistent. You guys wrote him off.
Yeah. No, it's insane. Like Dame going off like crazy, getting them to win, and then all the social justice things, which I thought was all really cool. Like I agree with you. I think it's awesome that everyone could come together and unite, and like the whole thing's just a historic season. Like you could, like you said, 10 years from now, you could be like, yo, remember when TJ Warren was like the hottest scoring person in the entire league? And people will probably be like, who's that?
I don't remember TJ Warren. Well, I don't even. Does he have signature shoes? No, he just plays in Adidas Boosts or whatever. I don't know.
Exactly.
Crazy bounces, or I don't know what the name of shoes they are, but yeah, it's a season it'll be forgettable and unforgettable in the same way.
Exactly.
People are not going to remember half of what happened, but we're like the ones that like us that care and watch every game and keep close tabs on everything. You'll never forget 2020, the year of the bubble, the year of 60 game baseball season, the year of the NHL bubble too, and the NFL season looks like it's going to be happening as normal as long as we could hope. I'm praying if that goes down the toilet, then I don't know what's going to happen because it'll be a complete like shit show for lack of a better word.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and then we would be right back to where we were when all of this first started with no sports, because the other stuff would be finishing off in their playoffs and everything, and then college football has been postponed pretty much.
Well, and did you see basketball? The ACC wants to have every Division I team in the NCAA tournament.
Oh yeah.
So does that if Rutgers gets in that way, does it count?
I mean, it would technically be a national championship.
No. Well, I'm saying, do we break the streak? Because we would have broke it last year, in
I see what you're saying.
But the pandemic had to wipe that out because I can't have nice things.
I mean, technically they would be in the tournament. So
here we go. I'll take it. I don't care if there's an asterisk involved. I'll take it.
Hey, that's if like with all the asterisk talk going on about the pandemic and everything, if the team I'm a fan of wins it, I don't care. There's no asterisk to me.
Yeah.
So I would give you that one.
Yeah, well, you might get one with the Ravens. They look like they're early contenders, and I think they're going to be a really good team. Not that that's basketball related, but
yeah, no, I got
you. Just saying.
I'm praying.
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting year. That's all I could say. It's been a really interesting year, but it's been a fun year also, in a way, as fun as it could be.
Right. No, yeah, completely agree. And yeah, I mean, thanks again for joining again.
Yeah, no problem, man.
We'll definitely have you back on, especially I'm sure there's big Nets news on the way at some point soon. So
yeah, when the Nets trade for Giannis, I'll be a phone call away.
Then I'll call you and be like, look, you just got the bigger Ben Simmons.
Yeah. All right, we'll trade for who's like a proof, a star-proof player. All right, and that's going to trade for Anthony Davis. Or maybe we'll just sign Anthony Davis. We'll find a cap room. We'll sign Anthony Davis.
Might as well just trade for LeBron.
He's too old.
Just imagine LeBron.
And I don't want to deal with
his.
I don't want to deal with his social media antics. Like all the stuff that Taco Tuesday and strive for greatness on every little post. Yeah, I don't want to deal with LeBron. Too high maintenance.
I mean, he probably doesn't like New York.
I'd rather have Bronny James at this point. I'd rather have 16-year-old Bronny than 40 or 36-year-old LeBron.
I mean, he's coming soon. What, like 3 more years? 2 more years?
Yeah, he's a sophomore. Yeah, 3 more years, and then by then LeBron will get the whole high school to the NBA thing fixed. So
Yeah.
you know that'll happen. So it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens.
Nah, for sure. Thanks again for joining, Mike. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Atlantic Files. Make sure you check out basketballsocietyonline.com and the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.